Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to our red letter study. And actually, I'd like to continue in the next video and the same slant we started with last time. And that's talking about how Jesus responds to people, how he answers them. Last time we talked about these would-be disciples and the question they had to Jesus. Well, I want to continue this time around with another well-known story, and that's the story of the paralytic. This man who couldn't walk, couldn't move, and four friends who helped him to get to Jesus by going through the roof. And I'm sure you've heard a lot of sermons, some good, some not so good. They usually focus on the faith of these men, the love of these men, and the healing of this guy. I want to focus on what Jesus says during this whole time. Because what Jesus says is what is important of the whole story. So, let's start when this man finally appears before Jesus, comes down from the roof. And behold, some people brought to him a paralytic, laying on a bed. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "You are healed because of faith." Oh, wait, no, he actually didn't say that. He says, "Take heart, my son, your sins are forgiven." Huh. It's interesting because it's going to be only a little bit later on that will be actually healing to this man. Because right now, Jesus' main focus is you need to be forgiven of your sins. And I like that Matthew takes the time to tell us, he saw their faith. Because then when we think of faith, we think faith means miracles. But no, for Matthew, faith brought the forgiveness of sin. That's important. This irritates the Pharisees. And they start grumbling in their hearts and minds, saying he's blasphemed. Who can forgive sin? Only God. And there's a sense where they're really right. Let's admit it, only God can forgive sins. That's why Jesus then adds to this, knowing their thoughts. Why do you think evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven, or to say, rise and walk? You have to understand what he's saying here. It's not just about saying the words, it's about saying these words and being able to prove them. If he turns to this man and say, rise and walk, and the guy stays there and don't move, well, you're proven to be a false prophet, false healer, false Messiah. That would be much harder to be able to prove that than to simply say to somebody, your sins are forgiven, because I can't see his sins disappear. There's no proof behind it. That's why there's a whole branch in certain Christianity where people have the power, the authority to forgive sins. It's easy. You can just say it. Nothing behind it to prove if it worked or not. So that's the idea. And that's why he then adds to this, finally guiding towards the healing now, but that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. Stop here. Just continues to explain what's important, and his focus is still on sin, not miracles. Sin, not healing. But the forgiveness of sins. And how he, as the Son of Man, as the promised Messiah, has that authority, divine authority, meaning I am God, I'm one with God. It's incredibly powerful what he's just saying that he's going to prove through the miracle. That's important. So he says, to prove that authority, he then said to the paralytic, rise, pick up your bed, and go home. And he rose and went home. Everybody, including the Pharisees, say, wait, he had that kind of authority. That's what frustrates and irritates them, amazes the crowd, is that he does have that kind of authority. Therefore, he can truly forgive sin. It's all about him being the Messiah, him being sent by God to bring forgiveness of sins for the people. To make this about the healing and faith-giving miracles is losing the point altogether, according to Jesus himself. It's falling the same trap that the crowd falls into. See, I love what Matthew adds with verse 8. When the crowd saw it, they were afraid, and they glorified God who had given such authority to men. Take note of that. It really is in the plural. They really think now anybody can forgive sins. Or certain people can forgive sins. Anybody can have that kind of power. That's what they're thinking. It's sad because nowadays we have a bunch of people thinking the same thing. they can have that same kind of authority of Jesus had, that same kind of power Jesus had, the same kind of ministry Jesus had, just like them. But that's not what Jesus said. He clearly said, what I'm about to do is going to prove that I, the Son of Man, not man, Son of Man, the long-awaited Messiah, have only to myself that authority to forgive sins, because that's what it's about. Forgiveness of sin. That's not important enough. That's not necessary enough for people. Then there's a serious problem. If your focus is on the miracles the faith will bring, then you're losing completely the point of this whole story. You're part of the crowd right now. When the focus is all about faith on the cross of Jesus Christ to save me from my sins, to wash me clean by his blood. That's what's important. Faith in his forgiveness that he gives me. May that be our priority, brothers and sisters. Be blessed.